what's going on, everybody? This is the Astral. Got a little bit of breaking news today, an announcement that's kind of pertaining to a lot of whistleblowers and people who would be possibly coming forward. So just wanted to go over some of the news, get a little bit more information and context on what that means, and also look at some of the past insiders who have spoke about knowing some information and that the NDA was preventing them from coming forward. So a little bit of exciting times here with this new announcement. Let me go ahead and pull it up. So basically we have President Trump made a directive to waive all non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, for former government employees and contractors with relevant UAP information. So this will allow them to come forward through channels like Arrow and Pursue. So those are the two key organizations that are going to be heading this up, it looks like. It removes the barriers and advances administration commitment to transparency. We will see. I'll ask our co-host in a little bit about Pursue and get a little bit more information there. But this is the actual article. So if we're looking at the article that was written today and dropped, it was done on Fox News. So Fox News is the one who is breaking all of this information. Not only that, let me just zoom here a little bit more. It looks like we're going to get another UFO drop pretty soon here based off of the information in the article. So another senior administrator emphasized the move was not a declassification directive and only allowed employees to come forward through government channels. So this isn't just like a blanket, allowance for anybody to just come forward. They have to go through these government channels. I mentioned it earlier, Arrow and Pursue. So we'll see if whistleblowers feel confident enough going through these official channels. Historically, they haven't over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of hesitation to come in through Arrow. So we'll see. Also, I want to know, I'm pretty curious. I haven't actually read through this article yet completely, but what Congress's part of this will be, like what role Congress will have. I'm guessing that the information will eventually be able to come out publicly, but that Congress is going to get to hear it first if they pass all of these. So under the new process, former government employees who believe they possess relevant UAP information would meet with designated offices at Arrow or the President's UAP Task Force, Pursue, who hold the security clearances. During the authorized discussions, any non-disclosure agreements could be waived, allowing witnesses to share information without fear of violating them. This sounds very similar to what was already set up with Arrow and even with Congress, I believe, but having the President Trump direct specifically for UAP information is very interesting, and hopefully it will open up some opportunities for people who have been waiting on the sidelines, like we've been hearing from journalists, that there are people on the sidelines that this is what is preventing them, are these proper protections. Interesting to come on sort of the heels of the UAP Disclosure Act as well. So a lot of this is going down as the UAP Disclosure Act is going to go up for, I believe, voting on the bill. So a lot of it is coming into place here. And another interesting thing with the timing is David Grush, about 2 months ago in the beginning of May, hinted that the next 60 to 90 days are going to be very interesting when it comes to disclosure. So that's basically what we're getting here. We're getting a lot of this played out over the last 60 or 90 days. So it will be interesting to see what exactly comes of it. So as we go through here, it's just, I would recommend just reading the article. A lot of it included just information about the last couple tranches. Some context, the official said the focus is on incidents that remained unexplained rather than unknown technology. So it's a couple of the cases that were in the last couple of UFO drops. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be interested to see how he approaches this, because I think he's mentioned this a couple of times before. Same with Eric Burleson. Like, how will any of this change the approach of the UAP caucus of Burleson, Luna, Burchett? Like, I would expect them to use this in some sort of way to get people to start to come forward. Maybe we're going to have more congressional hearings. We'll see. So that's just an interesting point that I wanted to bring up here. I did want to bring in my co-host. Going to bring him in here, Echo. I just want to make sure you're good. What's up, Echo?
Checking right here. I'm good. Ready when you are.
All right. Why don't you provide a little bit of context on everything that I've been discussing?
Right. Let's dig in. This move is big in one way. It tees up a real test. For years, people have said legal barriers were the reason more first-hand witnesses didn't come forward. With this pathway, we'll find out if that was the real blocker. The other big question is trust. AARO has a mixed reputation, so whether witnesses will use that channel is an open question. Also worth watching is this timing. It follows months of UAP activity from the administration, and they've signaled another file drop soon. So the real measure is what happens next. Do we study new first-hand witnesses, congressional briefings, or any verifiable evidence made public? That's the yardstick here.
And not a lot of people are familiar with Pursue. Looks like the president's UAP task force. Could you give a little bit of background on what Pursue is, how it was formed, who is organizing, who's behind it, that sort of information?
Checking. Pursue's pretty new. Public details are thinner than for AARO. Pursue stands for Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters. So it was set up by the administration to coordinate declassification and release of UAP records across agencies. AARO investigates, while Pursue coordinates disclosure. That's the simple framing. Leadership and structure aren't fully public yet. It's described as a task force, coordinating with the Department of War and intelligence community. But the exact org chart isn't out. Big picture, think AARO as the investigative arm and Pursue as the disclosure coordinator. With today's announcement, they're now linked. Witnesses can report through either. And if suitable for declassification, Pursue would help manage that process.
Got it. So when they're talking about potential whistleblowers, insiders, people who would look to bypass these NDAs, they would essentially come into AARO to confirm or evaluate the information is legitimate, and then through Pursue, the information would be released then to the public, redacted from the classified information or anything. Is that how the process works?
Checking. Broadly speaking, yes. That seems to be the rough flow, but that's not spelled out officially. Best shorthand is, witness comes in through AARO or Pursue, provides info under an authorized NDA waiver, and any material that's suitable for release gets processed through standard declassification channels. The exact handoff between AARO and Pursue isn't published, so I'd frame it as the intended path, not a guaranteed step-by-step.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, just had to switch out my headphones real quick. This is an interesting process. Will be interesting to see how it all plays out, whether or not people will refuse to come forward or just don't feel comfortable enough still to come forward with AARO, deep into the mix. I think a lot of it stems from Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of AARO. And now that there's John Kozlowski is heading up AARO, he seems to be more transparent, more willing to work together with the public and these UAP, UFO groups to get this information out. We'll see how this process kind of lays out for a lot of, hopefully first-hand whistleblowers. I think that's going to be the key here, is getting first-hand whistleblowers on board and with this process. So I just want to go through some of the... There was a post from Christian Gillibrand So Senator Kirsten Gillibrand was the one who kind of stood up Arrow and has been a huge supporter of Arrow and this process, really transparency, whether or not you think Arrow is doing that job. I think Senator Gillibrand is looking for that transparency on the Senate side, and there isn't really much attention that's paid to it, mostly with Congress, with the stuff Congress is doing. But she released a statement today because Arrow also released an annual report on UAP, and I find it kind of valuable to take a look at this report. It goes through the explanations, the different morphologies of the UAPs, some of the different efforts that Arrow is doing to gather multi-sensor data. A lot of the stuff is scientifically. So I personally like taking a look at the approach that they're taking into some of this stuff. They give some, I think, pretty valuable information in terms of if you were going to rule out some of the prosaic things that they've found. So they give a lot of the information contained within this, like a 14-page document. But what I found interesting is this part right here, where Arrow has proven itself to be the most comprehensive government effort on UAPs to date, which, you're looking at Project Blue Book, you're looking at OSAT. I don't know if she's referring to all of those official efforts, the UAP task force, different things like that. I don't know if those are all contained in that statement, but it's interesting that there's that much confidence in Arrow when, a year ago, Luna was calling for the defunding of Arrow. Luna and Burchett were looking to go through like Doge and question the funding of where the funds were going and, get that disbanded. Basically, they were trying to disband Arrow. So it's been interesting to see now that there's a little bit more support. People are coming out and being more vocal. I want to play some of these clips. So when I think of NDAs getting abolished or, used to prevent information from coming out in terms of UAP, the first couple of people that I think of are Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis. Those are the two that have been most really out in the forefront of trying to reveal some of this information, but mainly just giving these hints and then using the, I don't want to say excuse, but the reason that they can't fully disclose things is these NDAs that they've signed. So I just want to go through a couple of the clips where they've talked about some of the things that they can reveal if they were to get these NDAs bypassed. So should be interesting to see how it goes.
And deep analysis. I mean, this is something that, if it's occurring, is still behind the scenes and highly classified. However, I've interacted with the various intelligence officers who've been given the job officially, actual official jobs, to dig out what's true about the so-called legacy programs, the crash retrievals, and so on. People like David Grush, who appeared before Congress under oath, and he made the statement that, in fact, there is a legacy program. We do have access to crash retrieved craft, even crash retrieved biologics. Knowing him and where he came from, he was at the National Reconnaissance Office, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, at the highest level of clearances. He interviewed, as he claimed in his statement before Congress, over 40 individuals over a 4-year period, and all this data was collected together, and it seems like there is that crash retrieval program. So although I can't say that I personally have been absolutely briefed on the crash retrieval program, I've interacted with people like Grush and many others whose I just simply can't say I'm not hearing the truth. So I would put my stamp on the I that there is such a program.
All right. So, and really the legacy program, I think, is going to be the nugget that everybody is going to want to get information about, is this legacy UFO legacy program, back engineering, alien bodies, all of the evidence, all of the stuff that people, all the information that people are looking for is part of this program.
This process the White House has put in motion.
This is another clip that was recently of Dan Farrow, the director, producer of Age of Disclosure, where he's talking about, the process. He sort of, I don't know if he hints at something like this, but I feel like these guys, Farah, maybe even like Ross Coulthart, Greer sometimes, they sort of have these like insights of information of like what's coming down the pipeline. And this kind of feels like part of that right here.
This process the White House has put in motion, this is a rolling process that is going to continue until the full truth is out. Like that is 100% the case. There's another tranche of evidence being planned for release in the near future. I was told by a couple of officials just a couple days ago, they think it's just a matter of like a couple more weeks for the next tranche. And this process has been put in motion that I mentioned where these 3 members of Congress have been empowered to bring whistleblowers to the White House to have their non-disclosure agreements waived on a case-by-case basis. As that starts to happen, and as the White House gets more access to information, this rolling disclosure process is going to get escalated.
You said something.
Tell me that they think by the end of the year, like next level extraordinary stuff is going to be released.
There you go. He just previewed it. Where was it?
And as the White House gets more access to information, this rolling disclosure process is going to get escalated. Members of Congress have been empowered to bring whistleblowers to the White House to have their non-disclosure agreements waived on a case-by-case basis. As that starts to happen.
So Congress is involved with, I guess, getting this process going. I would imagine that this is what Burleson, Burchett, when they have been speaking with Trump, and they've been hinting that they've been speaking with Trump personally, that this is the move that they've been trying to get, is we've got the whistleblowers, we've got these guys, insiders, firsthand witnesses, legacy program, they know where the goods are. They just don't feel comfortable enough because of these NDAs that are put into place. If you are able to bypass these NDAs and get a directive going where they can then feel comfortable enough to come forward, then the good information, then we're going to get the good information. It's just so worrisome because the history of ufology, like it never ends up being that easy. It never is that straightforward. Like we would hope that, okay, this makes whistleblowers comfortable and then they're coming forward and then we find some evidence of back engineered craft and then they release the craft. And it's just so things still have to go such as planned now with the information coming forward to where now the public is getting in the information. So I think it's just interesting that some people within these disclosure circles have hints of like what's happening behind the scenes. It's not classified information. It's just like UFO circles of being directors and producers and content creators and large accounts and people who have written books. Like these are all the back channel circles that are talking about the larger scale processes that are happening down the road. And it just happens. It's an interesting one.
Interface with the leadership of the industry, which were a number of individuals, is the following. The craft that have been recovered are not of this earth. They're not made by human hands. They are not from this planet. They are not human. They are an alien technology, whatever the word alien means. Are they extraterrestrial? We don't know. We don't know. What motives do they have? Well, we need anthropologists and social psychologists and philosophers to figure that out because they haven't communicated that to us. Yeah. So physicists like me and Avi, we can't answer questions like motive. We just need to take data. We call it measurements and signals intelligence in the intelligence industry. My interface.
Yeah, we're going to need to see that data and evidence. I mean, hopefully this is going to be an avenue to get a hold of that, or to, be able to access that so that other people other than these handful of guys are able to get it in their hands on it and understand it. I think that's, yet to be seen.
How much of that reality have you been able to share publicly?
Very little of it.
And what would happen if you were to share some of that with just us in this room right here?
I could worry about going to jail.
How much of that reality have you been able?
There it is. Well, I worry about going to jail, so I cannot say the majority of what I know about the UFO topic. Now, with this process, he should be able to. So this is going to be key for me of how Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff directly respond to this. In my mind, they should already know that this is happening. They should have already known. If Dan Farah knows that this is coming, then these guys have already been like almost notified that this is coming and they have an opportunity to come forward. Are they going to reveal information and go through the official process, or is it just going to be more sort of the excuses on why they're not going through this official process, and which is being set up? Like, all of these steps are being made forward so that they can come through. The same with the congressional hearings. Like, all of this, like, the congressional hearings weren't set up so Chris Mellon could bypass it. The congressional hearings were set up so people like Chris Mellon could go into Congress and in front of, so and say what they want, they can say. The same with this. Like, this isn't a process that's just being set up so that nobody is gonna end up going in, and we're just gonna get more excuses. That would be extremely frustrating in my mind. So I will be interested to see over the next few weeks, like, who is actually contributing, getting involved, and going through this process, or at least exploring it, the validity of this process. So it will be interesting to see.
It's interesting, and a lot of people ask me.
All right, another person that comes to mind that I just thought of just scrolling around this morning was Bob Lazar. Like, I wonder if Bob Lazar has any looming NDAs that would prevent him from actually coming forward and revealing some information about Area 51, S4, any of the craft that he worked on. So it just made me think of, and let's just have this clip here.
Is the craft will...
It is interesting that it did rotate like that, because the craft that I worked on, that when it's going to travel a long distance, that is how it operates. It flies along and it puts its belly to the target, and then brings all the amplifiers to power, and it shoots off in that direction. Now, if it did something like that, I would say that's
we don't
incredibly
know.
Similar.
Yeah, we don't know, but that is kind of the point of me showing. I wanted to talk to you about that. So you often discuss the craft you worked on, how it's like this, and then it would turn its belly towards where it wanted to go.
Yeah, if it's going to fly fast or long distances, it doesn't fly as it would in a science fiction movies. It flies with the belly, the bottom forward.
And the occupants, if there are occupants inside this craft, when it flips and points its belly somewhere, can you explain kind of what happens to those occupants?
It's generating its own gravitational field, so it really is not just shielded by its own field, but the Earth's field, where you would think they would tilt up and they would fall down inside, that really has no bearing on it. The craft is generating its own gravity. They're standing straight up, or whatever. Your glass of water is sitting there and it's not spilling. I mean, the bottom of the craft is always pulling all matter to it.
So it's pretty technical, and I think that would be able to be valuable information for people like physicists or Eric Davis, or people who are maybe on the outside. Eric Weinstein comes to mind. People who are a little bit on the outside of this topic that may benefit from knowing some of this technical information that is hidden behind these NDAs. So whether or not Bob Lazar comes forward, I'm doubtful. I think George Knapp has made it clear that pretty much that Bob Lazar is not going to be coming forward, at least not to Congress, testifying publicly, stuff like that, which is disappointing. It really is. Bob Lazar has a recent documentary, the S4 documentary, which is a good documentary that came out earlier this year, but it doesn't seem like he's pretty motivated to come forward in a disclosure capacity. But we'll see. Maybe some of this will change his mind based off of the events being played out with the NDAs being excused.
So anyway,
the people who I think of right off the bat, and I saw this post, would have possible NDAs are really everybody involved in OSAP. So maybe I had a lot of questions before in the past few years about why with the congressional hearings, nobody from OSAP came forward. So we're talking about James Lukatsky, Jay Stratton, Colm Kelleher, Bigelow, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, and Kit Green. Why haven't any of those guys publicly testified? And in my mind, it could be the case where they all have signed NDAs where they can't even disclose any of the information from the program of what they found or what they were looking at or what they were studying. This might be an opportunity now that the NDAs are dropped, that people within the OSAP program can now come forward and start talking about what they were working on, what it was they were doing.
Both of them,
so
and
we'll see.
I gave Dave all my data.
All right, we'll go through just a few more clips
all
here.
my briefing information, and he took that, ran with it. So anyway, I met both of them, and I gave Dave all my data, all my briefing information, and he took that, ran with it, and he found everything. And then later on, I think maybe a year or two later, actually almost 2 years later, somewhere in that period, they finally got to meet with Hal Puthoff, and he briefed them with his set of information. A lot of what he has overlaps mine, but I have a lot of unique information, both in and outside of the era of the 15 years that I worked with Hal. A lot of it came from NDAs, and Hal knew some of that. A lot of it came from AFRL, and then a lot of it came through the OSAP with my interactions with the CIA and other agencies and companies and so forth. So Dave basically ran with our data, mine and Hal's, and found everything. Found 40 witnesses. I'm not going to say who they are, but I could say that I know 2 of them. So anyway, I met both of them, and I gave Dave all.
Well, maybe he can say who they are. I say who they are now, or give more information, or maybe these 40 witnesses, again, these are I believe the first-hand 40 witnesses to come forward. Maybe they can come forward now. Hopefully that will be the case, where they can now, feel confident enough to give the information.
Where's the proof? We have alien spaceships in our possession. Mm-hmm. We have bodies. Where and why can't I get the specifics to verify those claims?
If the President of the United States issued an executive order that absolves me of all of my TSSCI NDAs. NDAs are non-disclosure agreements. Those are the agreements we have to sign for every compartment in our SCI clearances. So if the President waives or absolves my obligation to those NDAs, and I get subpoenaed by Congress, somebody on Capitol Hill, some committee, either in the Senate or the House or the both, to reveal everything I know that I learned from my investigations, both unclassified and classified, into the legacy UAP, crash retrieval, and hardware reverse engineering and NHI programs, I would do so. If I could be waived from that or absolved in some fashion by presidential order, and if Congress subpoenas me, yes, I would go and tell them everything I know.
I asked them those specific questions because I feel the frustration among the community, among people that have seen, for instance, Dave Grush back in 2023 making these extraordinary claims and not really providing publicly the extraordinary evidence needed to verify those.
Yeah, there it is. There's the playbook. That to me is the playbook right there, what Eric Davis just outlined. And now we have the opportunity. I feel like, I don't know if that's an executive order that Trump did. I don't think it's an executive order. Same with the directive of releasing the UFO files. It wasn't an executive order that did that. It was just a directive. And this is the same thing. So I wonder if they're going to try and skirt that to be like, well, it's not an executive order. It was just a directive. We'll see. But that was Eric Davis just laid out the whole playbook of what needs to happen. Now, will that happen? We'll see. But interesting developments for sure. Will be about maybe a couple weeks or so to really see how this plays out in terms of anybody coming in, the information that we get. We are supposed to get a UFO drop according to the article in soon. Could be this Friday, could be in just a couple days, or it could be a week and a half. But I would expect something to come up pretty soon. So that's going to be the show for today. Got a couple of videos coming out real soon here. Definitely appreciate that, but just wanted to jump on and cover a little bit of the information, dive in a little bit to get more context of what was going on and maybe what we can expect to hear from the insiders who have had NDAs preventing them from giving information to the public. So appreciate everybody for coming by. Like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.